Hello and welcome to MEE Live. I'm Matilda Mallinson. It's Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026. Today, Israel's de facto annexation of the West Bank. Here's the latest. The Israeli government has approved a plan to claim large areas of the occupied West Bank as state property if Palestinians cannot prove ownership. It has prompted accusations of de facto annexation. The registration process, which could start as soon as this year, would mark the first time since 1967 that Israel has absorbed parts of the West Bank, and it could amount to more than half the enclave. After decades of settler destruction, the bar to prove Palestinian ownership is extremely high, and the move could dispossess thousands of Palestinians of rights to their land. The proposal was submitted by Israeli Minister of Justice Yariv Levin, Minister of Defence Israel Katz, and far-right Minister of Finance Bezalel Smotrich, who described it on Israeli media as part of the, quote, settlement revolution to control all our lands. Their official joint statement took a different tone, framing the decision as a security and governance measure. Under international law, an occupying power is prohibited from undertaking land registration in occupied territory due to its irreversible nature. On today's show, we'll ask whether annexation is already underway, after speaking to West Bank resident and Oscar-winning filmmaker Hamdan Bilal, whose family have just been attacked by settlers and soldiers. Israel's controversial land laws come at a time of increasing settler violence and could provide bureaucratic justification for their often deadly seizure of Palestinian homes. Under the current government, which took office in early 2023, settlement expansion has reached its highest level since the US began recording data in 2017. In 2025 alone, close to 50,000 housing units were advanced, compared to less than 15,000 in the first 5 years on record. The US-led Gaza ceasefire signed in October heralded the deadliest month on record for West Bank settler violence. In 2024, the UN's highest court delivered a non-binding advisory opinion declaring Israel's settlements in the West Bank illegal and calling for them to be ended as soon as possible. More than 700,000 Israelis live in illegal settlements in the territory today. One of the Palestinian areas at risk under the new proposal is Masafer Yatta, the subject of last year's Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land, which followed a Palestinian and Israeli journalist as they tried to protect Palestinian homes from settlers in the South Hebron Hills. The Israeli army argues that it has to demolish the Palestinian villages to convert the area into a military firing or training zone. The film's co-director, Hamdan Bilal, returned from the Oscar ceremony in March, only to be attacked, blindfolded, and detained by Israeli settlers and soldiers, which led to global condemnation. On Sunday, he said the attackers came to his hometown of Susia again and left his brother hospitalized. He joins us now. Hamdan Bilal, welcome to MEE Live. Could you talk us through what happened on Sunday?
Hey, and good evening. What's happened on Sunday, that was crazy moments for all my family uh, because they facing a difficult attack from the settlers and soldiers. Uh, I will start from the beginning. I was in the work and I got a call from my brother. He's called me and he's told me there's settlers grazing the sheep very close from my house. And in the beginning of the February, we got an order from the court not allowed the settlers to be very close from my house. So I told him he have to call the police, and he's do it. But the soldiers, the army came first. And they came down to my family. They was take a lunch front of my home. And they came with the settlers. He's called Chimtovluski, who's attacked me last year, and he's give the soldiers it's like order to stop my brother, and directly the soldiers stopped my brother and let him sit on the ground. And after that, the soldier asked him about his ID. He said, "Okay, I can give you the number of the ID." He's refused, and he's asked him again, "Okay, let me go inside and bring my ID," and he refused also, and he was so violent. And directly he's attacked my brother. He's attacked, push him until he's cut him from his neck, and he was pushed very, very hard on his neck until he's become his face blue because he can't take the breath. Finally, my nephews they succeed to take him from the soldier and directly go to the hospital. So, and also there's my two brothers and my nephew and my cousin. They came here to see the situation from their homes in Yatta, in area B. It's very close from here, from my village, Susia. They came, but the police and the army stopped them, and they let them down from the car and let them sit on the ground. A few minutes, I saw my brothers and my nephew, my cousin. They stopped by Israeli soldiers, and I start to filming them. Few minutes, the soldiers they talk my family members to the army base in Susia village. They stopped them around 3 hours in the army base without reason, without take them to police station or any. They didn't do anything against them. Just they handcuffed them and closed their eyes and put them front of the gate of the army base. They stopped them 3 hours.
So Hamdan, that's two brothers, a cousin, and a nephew, blindfolded and detained, and another brother attacked and hospitalized. Is that correct? So can I just to clarify?
Yes.
You said
Yes.
that you recently won a court order from an Israeli court saying that the area around your home is not to be entered by non-residents. And so when the attack from settlers happened, you called law enforcement, but instead of enforcing the Israeli court order, they supported the settlers, attacked one of your brothers, and detained 4 other relatives. Is that accurate?
Yes, and this is not first time. After we got the order, my brother who hospitalized, he was arrested in February 7 also. So after we got the order, the court decision, the Israeli settlers they came grazed their sheep very close from my house. So that they don't respect their law. We understand this is occupation law. We understand this is came from this court, from Israeli court. But this is people, the settlers, they don't respect their law,
And
and they
and
got it
you also
supported
said
from the army.
you also said that this attack you experienced on Sunday was led by the same settler that attacked you and your family when you returned from the Oscars. Do you feel that you're being punished for the success of No Other Land? Do you feel that this is personal?
Look, the last month, the same settler he's came here and grazed his cows and grazed his sheep in my land, destroyed the fields. It's like every time. So the last attack, he's didn't attack my brother. He's just give the order to the soldiers, and the soldiers they attacked my brother. So this is just like a different way and a different thing. So, but the same settler who's attacked me last year, the same settler who's came here with another settlers grazing the sheep very close from my house, destroyed the field. Sometimes they came in front of my house in the garden of the house. destroyed the flowers, the trees. And when you call the police, the best thing they did it against him, to let him be, it's like any kick far away, it's like 5 meters from my house. That's the best thing what they did. Until we order our court. But nothing changed. The same situation. For me, I think it's like become more than worse.
Hamdan, I'm so sorry, firstly, that this has happened to you and your family. Of course, it is not an isolated attack. Your fellow filmmakers have been attacked. In July, one of the documentary's consultants, Auda Hathalin, was tragically murdered. And data shows settler attacks have been dramatically increasing across the West Bank. Can I ask whether you've noticed an increase in settler violence across the West Bank? And if so, when did you notice that change?
Look, when the army and the soldiers give them support and give the minister of called Benigvir keep armed them. So this is will be so crazy in the future, and also when the world keeps silent against this is actions from our this is violent from the settlers, and also the army was attacked the Palestinian in whole West Bank, not just in Masafer Yatta, not just around my house. No, the settlers now they feel they have powerful, they have permit to do what they want because of the silent of the world, the silent from the international laws, because who's made the international laws, they have to protect his laws. And this is they made it to protect the Palestinian, the innocent people. But here in the West Bank, in Gaza, in whole Palestine, this is what international law they didn't work. They keep attack us. They keep demolitions our homes. They keep killed the people. There is 2 people killed from Masafer Yatta, and also there is a lot of people they are injured. So I don't know exactly if there is a good future for the Palestinian if the world keeps silent, keep this is pictures. It's normal. They will keep attack us. They will keep try to destroy our homes, destroy our life. So exactly, this is a evil black future.
And I just want to ask you about a new law that Israel has passed, which will require Palestinian residents in Area C to prove land ownership at the risk of having Israel seize the property and declare it as owned by the state. Is this a law that worries you?
Look, maybe that's new for the media. And also, this is law. They publish it, the Israeli governments, they publish it as like a new. But on the ground, they confiscated the lands. They control everything in Area C. They build outposts, settlements. They don't care about the international law. They don't care about the human rights. They don't care about nothing. This is law. Fact, they work on it. It's like before 3 years ago. But when you spoke about law on the media, that's new. But the reality, the truth, they confiscated the land. They preventing the people plowing the land. They preventing the people grazing the sheep in the land. So the truth is, this is law work before 3 years ago.
So the law may be new, but the reality on the ground, this is not a new situation. Hamdan
This is
Balal,
not.
thank you
Yes.
so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For the first time since 1967, at least by law, Israel's new land registration means it will be able to seize West Bank territory from Palestinians who cannot prove ownership and unofficially redraw its borders beyond those agreed under the Oslo Accords. The Oslo Accords, signed in the mid-1990s, divided the West Bank into three areas. Area A went under Palestinian control, Area B under joint control, and Area C, the orange territory on the map, went under direct Israeli control. The land registration process applies to Area C, which covers about 60% of the West Bank and houses over 300,000 Palestinians. But it follows a raft of land measures passed on Sunday that expand Israel's civil control in Areas A and B as well. Under the stated aims of preventing water offences and environmental hazards, Sunday's measures assert Israeli authority over civilian affairs in major Palestinian cities. Analysts say it marks an end to the Oslo Accords and an existential challenge to the Palestinian Authority. Israel's far-right coalition ministers described land registration as an appropriate response to Israeli settlement measures being pushed by Palestinian Authority in Area C in violation of the law and agreements. This is despite their government openly seeking to expand Israeli settlements in the territory. In July, the Knesset passed a non-binding resolution calling for the annexation of the West Bank. In response, the Palestinian Authority presidency has accused Israel of a de facto annexation and flagrant violation of international law. He has called on the international community, especially the United States and the UN Security Council, to intervene immediately. Jordan, Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey have firmly condemned Israel's proposals. But while US President Donald Trump has said that he opposes annexation, his administration has not curbed Israeli settlements and is yet to comment on the move. I'm joined now by Danya Abulhaj, a lawyer at the International Center of Justice for Palestinians, or ICJP. Danya, tell us, how concerning is Israel's plan to declare West Bank Area C territory as state property?
Yes, thank you for having me. I think the move is very concerning. However, this is the result of years of policies that haven't actually implemented on the ground. And what we are currently seeing is these policies being passed as laws, well, concealed as laws by the Israeli government because they're passed by the Knesset, which is their legislative branch. So it is very concerning. However, it can be seen as one of the latest escalation measures against the Palestinian people to further drive them out of their lands, and is an attempt to further destabilize the situation on the ground in the occupied Palestinian territory. And above all, this is the result of decades of impunity that has been given to Israel by Western states and the US.
What do you make of the legality of it? I mean, we have people saying that this brings an end to the Oslo Accords, to international agreements. Just as a lawyer, tell us how this stands next to international law.
Yes, so obviously we have seen over the past few years different advisory opinions by the International Court of Justice that have spoken about the illegality of not just these processes, but actually mainly the illegality of Israel's occupation on the ground and the policies that have been implemented. The latest of we've seen was the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice that was issued in July 2024. What we have also seen was a number of leading human rights organizations over the past few years calling Israeli policies on the ground as apartheid policies. And what we are seeing today is nothing new. It is basically policies, administrative policies being concealed as law to further drive Palestinians out of their lands. This is in contravention with the Geneva Conventions, with international humanitarian law, with the decisions of international courts. And this is the result, as I said again, of impunity that has been granted by the West. But what is mostly important to understand in this context that the registration process has been paused by Israel in 1968. This registration process, which was started by the Jordanian government initially, and Palestinians were unable to register their lands. And now the registration process that is being asked of is very tricky for Palestinians on the ground. And it's important to take into consideration here the financial and the lengthy process that Palestinians have to go through. And it's important to understand that Palestinians also live in unequal economic situations. So these incurred expenses just to register lands that they've lived for decades in are basically designed to drive Palestinians out of their lands and to replace Palestinian presence with settler presence, to transfer the ownership of these lands to the Israeli government under different pretexts, whatever they may be called by the Israeli government, legal or policy or bills passed by the Knesset. That does not take away the fact that these policies are actually illegal and are in contravention with the Israeli government's obligations under international law as an occupying power. And they are also part of the apartheid policies that have been implemented against the Palestinian people for decades now.
Right. So the land registration process requires Palestinians to prove ownership, but for reasons you've just laid out, that may be very difficult for them to do. How should the international community react to what you were describing here as a breach of international law and agreements?
I think this is a very interesting question, but it is also precisely the main point that should be thought of in the context of the events that are occurring today in the occupied Palestinian territory. What is happening is the result of Western states and the international community staying silent against the crimes that have been committed against the Palestinian people for decades. And if you put this in light of the past 2.5 years, we are now realizing that Israel knows that it can do whatever it wants without being held accountable, without substantive measures taken against it as a state for the crimes that are being committed. So yes, while condemnations and official statements might be important and might be useful in the view of these governments and these states and the international community, they are actually not making any difference. What's most important in today is taking substantive measures against Israel that would impact not only ministers, not only the government, but also Israelis themselves, that would make them feel the pressure of what is happening and how their crimes are impacting them to be able to drive change from the inside. I think most importantly, in the context of the UK, what we can discuss is that the UK government has mentioned that they will be issuing a decision or they'll be issuing a statement about the advisory opinion that was issued by the International Court of Justice in July 2024. We have not seen any statements that were published by the UK government. It is also important to maybe impose more sanctions on ministers in their official capacity. So I think these kind of measures, these kind of sanctions would actually make Israel understand that what is happening on the ground and the policies that it's undertaking will put it at risk of official measures that are being taken against it. It is no longer enough to be making statements and condemnations and putting words on paper about the Israeli policies against the Palestinian people. This is an attempt to ethnically erase the Palestinian presence from their own lands and further drive them out. And there will be serious consequences for such policies if left undealt with the international community.
In response to what you've just laid out, I have to ask, in comparison to 2 years of genocide in Gaza, what's happening now in the West Bank may provoke anger from the international community, but we've already seen a lot of anger provoked among the international community in response to horrific violence in Gaza, and it hasn't seemed to temper the Israeli government under Benjamin Netanyahu. Donald Trump has said that he is opposed to West Bank annexation by Israel. I wonder, why do you think Netanyahu is prepared to risk US support, prepared to risk making Israel even more of a pariah state for the sake of these new land laws?
Because I don't think Netanyahu is worried about risking relationships with the US. If anything, the US, different governments, the Trump government or the previous government, have actually stood tall behind the Israeli state actions and its policies against the Palestinian people. We've seen unconditional military and financial support to the Israeli government as it conducted the genocide in Gaza 2.5 years, and even with the supposed so-called ceasefire that has not actually been free from any violations. We've seen Israel violated on a daily basis. So I think Israel now realizes that they can do what they want without risking actual consequences. And in tying back to what I was saying about the international community and the US, this is extremely important to understand now, because what is happening is, if Israel is allowed to keep going as it is, we are now creating an environment within the international rules-based order where countries can act in whatever way they want and not fear any actual consequences for their behavior. And that would risk the entire international rules-based order to actually collapse. So I think this is a pivotal moment for a lot of Western governments and states, and for the US, to understand that if this is the way that we want to go and move forward with as an international community, these will be the risks that we will have to deal with.
Another body that, of course, has firmly criticised the move is the Palestinian Authority. They have called this a de facto annexation, a flagrant violation of international law. How effectively has the Palestinian Authority protected Palestinians in the West Bank from Israeli threats to their land?
Well, what we have seen over the past few years was the Palestinian Authority acting as an extension as an administrative extension to the occupation. I think the Oslo process and the Oslo Accords have proven its failure over the past years, and not even over the past few years. It was intended to be a process that was for a transitional 5-year period. And one of the main issues about the entire process was that it gave the occupier privilege over the occupied people. And it was unfair, and it allowed Israel to have entire control over the process, the timelines, the maps, and everything that needed to be implemented. So we would be delusional now to think that the Palestinian Authority has any autonomy over its own actions and what is happening. I think it's always important to understand that we need to bring the problem back to the source of it, which is the Israeli occupation. The entire occupied Palestinian territory is occupied by Israel. It is under the control, the effective control of the Israeli military, the brutal military occupation of the Palestinian territory. And over the past 2.5 years specifically, when everything was happening in Gaza, the genocide, the starvation of civilians, the disproportionate killing of civilians and destruction of infrastructure, the West Bank and East Jerusalem were not free from violations and escalating violence. What we've seen was Israel's military control intensifying in its brutality, intensifying in its illegal policies against the Palestinians. We've seen invasions to Nablus, Tulkarem, Jenin. We've seen more policies that further drove Palestinians out of their homes and lands. And this is also important to understand in the context of Israel's illegal settler colonial project that aims to erase the Palestinian presence from their lands and replace them with the settler presence of the Israelis.
Dania Abulhaj, thank you so much for your time today. And for today, that is all that we have time for on MEE Live. But before we lose you, we would love to hear from you. Please send in your thoughts and questions to @MiddleEastEye on any social platform, or email meelive@middleeasteye.net. We'll be here at 5 p.m. GMT, noon in New York, every Tuesday and Thursday. See you then.